Morning, good evening, everyone. Nagashimasu. This morning, I'll read you Keep Breathing, number 15. The breath goes out, reaching everything in the universe and all of humanity. The breath comes in and falls into an infinitely small space in the lower abdomen. Keep breathing is the unknown practice that brings you to being one with the universe. If you do this alone at night, when the universe is calm and quiet, you will wonder if either you are the universe or the universe is you. In other words, you will experience the ultimate joy of being one with the universe. Then the life energy of a human being becomes fully active. Toi Sensei always emphasized to us how important the transition between breathing in and breathing out is. I think I told you about it. We were having a meeting of the chief instructors of the West, Toi Sensei, and it occurred just after he'd been teaching a class on keep breathing. And before we could begin the meeting, he stopped us and said, you people think that the only thing important about breathing is the breathing out and the breathing in. But even more important is the transition between breathing out and breathing in. A friend of mine wrote me one time, and he said this: finer, finer, finer than 10,000 goddesses on the tip of a hair is the central point in the wave of breath. So even this person from long ago understood what Toi Sensei was trying to teach us. And you know, there's something very profound to learn here. And it's, once again, something that's hidden, very difficult to parse, to get to see, because it's infinitely small. It's like we have this exercise, for instance, that we do in Aikido. Two people stand together, and then I ask them to walk forward, and to make the transition between standing still and walking forward perfectly together. Some of you have done this with me. If you have, you know that when you first do this exercise, when I first did this exercise with Toi Sensei, all of my attention was on the other person, trying to make sure that I left when the other person did, because that's the assignment, right? But no, that's not actually, yes, that's the assignment, but that's not how it's done. It's just like when someone is attacking Shomenuchi. If you watch his body, you'll be too late. Same principle. And if you watch the breath going in and going out, you'll miss the point of the breathing. In other words, we look at the point between A and B in our life as that which is significant. But it's actually the point in between B and C, not the point between C and D. See, it's not the action, but it's what the action arises out of. When we make a goal, and we achieve that goal, then what happens? Well, we all know this. Nothing has changed. And there's a big change, of course, that you bought a new car, you have a new car. You became Godon, you're now Godon. So the change, the obvious change, the surface change has happened. But what has really changed? Nothing. So we always want to look at the unseen. We want to see through the apparent import in our life to what really counts. And even practicing keep breathing, then we are practicing this. You know, Toy Sensei broke this apart so that when we do keep breathing, you know, when we just breathe, the breath goes out, the breath comes in. The breath goes out, the breath comes in. But in keep breathing, the breath goes out and we count 1, 2, 3. Then the breath comes in. So he creates this space. Now, of course, in that space is also, that is a faux space. That is also an action. So infinitely small in the middle of that 1, 2, 3 space is the transition. Find that transition. Keep breathing is not just keep breathing. Okay, let's do some keep breathing. Okay. So this teaching about transition is really still talking about the seen and the unseen, isn't it? We're automatically, we rest in the seen. I mean, we're in the seen. We're well aware of it. We're focused on it. We're chasing it. We're creating it, we think. So this is really a recommendation by Toy Sensei to not just practice Keiko, self-improvement. This is fine, but remember to practice Shugyo. Practicing Shugyo is resting in the unseen, that which we cannot fathom. And that is a real practice. That's the practice that supports and underlies all of the work in your life. And if that's not there, then it's a very shallow kind of practice. So I think it took me many, many years before I began to appreciate that Toy Sensei was really teaching us to rest in that Shugyo all the time, to be in a different state of mind. So he talked about mind-body unification. That's the words he used. But if you, it's like I was talking about this exercise of moving together. And I said, well, you know, the wrong way is to put your mind on when the person is going to move, to try to feel when that other person is going to move, just like watching for the other person to attack you. But of course, the answer, what to do, is to keep on point. Or in other words, to rest in mind-body unification. But since we're always in body, what we're really doing when we keep one point is we're bringing the unseen into it. We're resting in that as well at the same time, mind, body. This is taiga. So all of the unseen and all of the seen being experienced at the same time. So what does that make you think of? Toby Vogels. Good evening, Toby.
Good evening, Sensei.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
I was still thinking of the changes between the breath and how different it can be all the time. So sometimes it feels like I'm out of breath. So the change is caused by the breath itself. I want to breathe in fast, or sometimes it feels like I'm full, so there's no real change. Sometimes it feels like there's a stop of breathing, and like the universe stops for a second, so like a pause, and then there's a change. And sometimes it's mostly it's just a conscious movement, me trying to switch from breathing in to breathing out. So the question is, what am I looking for? What is the...
Well, so everything you describe, and it's very interesting, you know, that you're noticing all four of those different ways that of what happens when you're doing keep breathing. Those are all the body. So the suggestion is to not to stop noticing those transitions and the various ways those things might occur. And maybe for other people, there's even more other things they're noticing. But always to look beyond that, or maybe to, we don't have a word for this, to experience beyond this, to be beyond this, to recognize that you're not just this action, that the transition is between one thing and another. And again, it doesn't have to be breathing, but that's a good subject to practice it because we're doing it all the time. The transition between breathing out and breathing in is indicating something profound. What is that? See, and it's not like you're going to find some answer like, oh, write this down. It's like, maybe we can say it's empty. Maybe we can say it's emptiness itself, but that's not nothing. No thing is not nothing. No thing is profound. It's this all is created out of that which can't be known. So this breathing falters in its solidity for just an instant, an infinite instant. We call that a transition. So what does that feel like? See, that's what we're trying to get at here. Okay. How about Christoph over there in Belgium?
Hello, Sensei. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you. Before the the meditation this evening. You gave us a pattern for our reflection. You said it's not about point A to point B. It's not either point C to point D, but it's what happens between point B and point C. And then you left us with this, inviting us to find the transition point. And then I thought to myself, but if there is a point, then we are missing the point. Because if there is a stop somewhere, what I think the sensei is aiming at is the absence of stop. But of course, it's kind of counterintuitive, because it's like going in one direction. At some stage, we need to go the other direction, but there needs to be no turning point. So so I play with this, and
I think that it's not that there's no turning point. Of course, there is a turning point.
But it's like infinite meets infinite. It's like this.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of it. So,
Yeah.
so that's why it's fun to examine this, because it's infinitely impossible to see what I'm asking you to see, but it's all in the looking. It's all in the awareness. It awakens us to some part of ourselves that we're not used to considering. That's what's happening here. Because it's like a koan, you know? It's impossible. It cannot be seen. It cannot be grasped. It cannot be approached. The closer you get, the further away it is. So what is then this? Well, it's like when you're having an argument with another person about who's right about something. That's not the point. That's why you're having an argument, is because you're missing the point of friendship, which is the very connection itself, which cannot be grasped. It cannot be identified. It can't be described. It can't be defined. And yet it's the point of living.
Yes. And what you said to Toby Bogle Sensei somehow speaks to me. You said nothing is not no thing. Nothing is something, actually. I don't know what to do with this, but I like it.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Thank you.
I love that. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Can I ask Carlos to say something? Carlos Boyer, Charles Boyer, Sensei.
Hello, Sensei.
Hello.
Morning. Yeah, I'm enjoying the discussion very much. You know, it's funny, you just said, oh, it's impossible. And just on Wednesday evening in the class I taught, I kind of concluded by saying, oh, this is possible. So I hope I'm not creating too many disruptions in our training here.
Well, you know, we just taught about all the possibilities, living a life of possibility. So, of course, we're surrounded by possibilities that we don't even notice. So what we're talking about here really is expanding our awareness to include that which cannot be seen. And in expanding our awareness in that way, then we also see all the possibilities that exist at the same time. So of course, you're very right.
Thank you, Sensei.
As usual.
Well, okay, so may I add something?
Yes.
For this, what you were saying about Shugyo? To be in Shugyo, to rest in the one point, these things are, in the way I understand them, they have to come upon us. right? We just open and give it a chance, but there's no making it happen, right? It just has to come when it comes. So resting and being in Shugyo more and more only happens when it happens, right? You can't force it to happen, in other words.
Yeah, some teachers said, we don't meditate to make awakening happen. We cannot make it happen. But we make ourselves available through meditation so that it's a greater possibility that this accident of awakening might take place. I think that's very profound and very valuable. I've never forgotten that because I think it's so useful. Because our biggest fault is sometimes our expectation, the way that we inhibit our access to possibility. And both our access to both the possible and the impossible, we limit, we cut ourselves off by expecting, through expectation. So we're trying to guide the future of our life to be free of pain and full of pleasure. Manipulation. This is the craziness of our selfish mind at work. So everything we can do to tame that mind and allow it to just enjoy this the way it is already is to me very useful. Okay, well, thank you very much, Carlos, and thank you, everyone. It was a lovely Sunday morning for me, and I'll see you soon. Domo arigatou gozaimasu.